you want to accomplish. We talked about winning the division. We talked about getting the first round bye, winning a playoff game to get into the conference championship, winning the conference championship to get to the Super Bowl. We've been checking things off, and make no mistake about it, got a lot of respect for the Patriots, but we're going there to get this last check.
Looking like jumpsuit January at the Rams send-off. Our buddy Big Cat would love that reference. The Rams outside their new stadium, a good crowd.
Yeah,
not quite the 35,000 that showed up in Foxborough, but Rams fans there. The Rams ready to go. And Sean McVay maybe getting sleep or maybe not getting sleep this week. Peter King joins us for the full hour. And Peter, fascinating football morning in America. You can read it now at profootballtalk.com. But don't read it right now. Listen to what Peter has to say, and then you can read
You're pretty good at your job, man.
In the car, early. How did that all come to be, and why in the world did it happen as early as it did on Saturday morning?
Well, last week, right about this time, I texted Artist Twyman, the PR guy of the Rams, said, hey, I'd love to do this with Sean McVay. I did it last year with Doug Peterson. I've done things like this before Super Bowls. And a couple of days went by, and so finally I also texted Sean McVay. And I told him what I wanted to do Friday or Saturday morning early. Let's get in the car. I'll ride with you. Well, he texted me back right away. He said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And so I arranged it with him, and I was at his house at 3:30 Saturday morning in the hills north of L.A. He said 4:15, but I've heard funny stories about him and time.
Right.
And so he walks out of his house at 10 after 4, Coughlin time, or as I said, insane standard time.
Yeah, insane.
And we got in the car and we drove. But here's the interesting thing that I found in this whole thing, that not only is he ready to go at 4:10, but he's ready to go with applicable, good, interesting, fun, correct stories for the moment. Like Belichick has texted him after every win this year.
Wow.
And Belichick, he got to know Belichick last year really well at the Combine. They spent some time together. And then, remember, I also wrote this in my column, that you remember they trade for Brandon Cooks last year. And he and Belichick were the ones who got this done. You know, it was not done Les Snead, Nick Caserio, you know, GM to GM or president to president. It wasn't done that way. It was basically done with between McVay and Belichick. And McVay thought he had a deal done for, basically Brandon Cooks and a 4 for that one. And Belichick, in the course of their conversation, ended up getting a 6 back. And so, McVay wanted the guy so bad that he didn't, they must have negotiated, but originally they weren't going to give the 6, and then they gave the 6. So he knows how to compete with Belichick, and it'll be an interesting week for him here.
I honestly think that's like one of the underlying things I look at in the matchup, because like I look at a lot of times the New England, you've heard me say this before, where I just go, the one thing that gets lost with competing against New England is you have to compete against their coaches. And Belichick is going to be in the office all day with his staff. And, it sounds like, and you probably know more than this, but it sounds like McVay is like that kind of guy that is there all day long. He lives it. He's got no family to go home to.
Chris, you will understand this perfectly. Now, do you remember the Super Bowl last year where I ended up writing about this after the game? That the winning touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Nick Foles, 11 yards to Zach Ertz.
Right.
They were in a 1-by-4 formation. Mm-hmm. One of the very rare times all year that Philadelphia ran this formation.
Right.
They never ran the motion they ran with it in that formation, and they didn't have Zach Ertz as the one on the left. So the Patriots had never seen this before.
Right.
And when I started to tell that story, McVay goes, oh, yeah, the 1-by-4.
Yeah.
McVay has seen this play. He studied this play. And what I believe, he didn't say this, so this is just me, Peter King, divining this after being with him and after watching the Super Bowl last year, where the Philadelphia Eagles, the way that they beat the New England Patriots is by running plays that in history, never in Doug Peterson's history, never in Frank Reich's, nobody, that they ever ran these before. And so that is what I believe. We're going to see things, maybe on both sides too, but we're going to see things from the Los Angeles Rams where it'll come out after the game that they never ran that in any way before, and McVay never ran it in his 3 years as Washington's offensive coordinator.
Shout thyself.
Are these things that McVay's been holding in his pocket, or are these plays he's going to come up with out of the blue this week?
Because last year, remember last year, Doug Peterson went to the Super Bowl last year with a 192-play game plan. They landed Minnesota. He has a meeting with his coaches, and he says, hey, the hay is not in the barn.
Right.
I want you guys to keep working and see if you can find plays that can knock some of these 192 out of the game plan.
Yeah, sure.
And Mike Groh, the receivers coach, and Frank Reich combined to find this play that they saw, a combination of which on other teams' film.
Yeah.
And that's, Mike, what makes it so, I don't want to say easy, but what makes it so different right now, today, this year, is Pro Football Focus and really good analytics people can take plays that might have been run 3 years ago by Alabama or Oklahoma State, and they'll see things because they have these things programmed. Show me everything in NCAA Division I football with 1x4 formations and jet sweep motion. And they can find that. So now Wake Forest against Maryland in 2015. Here it comes. Oh my God, why can't we do that? See, that is what is different about football right now. It is not hard to find Einstein stuff just simply by a click of the mouse.
Yeah. All right. I got a question for you. I mean, you're a Hall of Famer. You're a legend. Like you're going to put on a gold jacket one day. But this is where you've been around a lot. Yeah, I'm putting you there. But this is where I want to ask you this. With McVay, you've been around so many good coaches. I want to know, how does he stack up against coaches you have seen through the years? And how does he stack up to a young Belichick when he was younger? Like, if you can remember that far long ago.
Well, consider this. Bill Belichick was 34 years old when he was the defensive coordinator who frustrated John Elway in the Super Bowl, where your dad was 22 at 25. So he was 34 years old that day, and that is when Bill Belichick's star really began to rise. Sean McVay's 33 years old. He's going to try to find a game plan this time that's going to make the genius uncomfortable and see things that he hasn't seen before. The only thing, so I think his legacy is, a bunch of people said, well, this is a legacy week for Sean McVay. He's got to do this. I mean, Sean McVay's coaching another 25 years. He doesn't build his legacy this week. He could lose by 20 points, and people will say, man, he won the NFC Championship with a tiny bit of an asterisk.
At 32 years old.
Yeah, 32 years old. So, excuse me. But my whole thing about this sort of matchup in this game is that I think that Belichick with 2 weeks versus Boy Wonder with 2 weeks. I think somebody's head is going to explode on Super Bowl Sunday night.
What do you think Belichick tries to take away from the LA offense? Because that's always the book on Belichick. Find what they do best and take it away. Is it Gurley? Dante Hightower may have let it slip the other day because he said he's expecting heavy doses of Gurley, which tells me maybe Belichick's already telling them we're going to game plan to stop Gurley. But Gurley's kind of, is he banged up? Is he ineffective?
We don't know that. We don't know that. I'll tell you this. I don't think there is one of the strengths of this offense is that they don't have a Tyreek Hill. And I don't mean that in everybody would want a Tyreek Hill. He's unbelievable. But they were able to take away Tyreek Hill. But I would just say this. Like, if you say, well, geez, they could take away Brandon Cooks, and I'm sure they could if they wanted to. But Robert Woods,
it's the same kind of guy.
This offense is just as important. And so you take away one of those guys. Mike, I don't think there is a guy, because honestly, a big physical running back behind a physical offensive line like the Rams have, and C.J. Anderson. I'm not saying it can't work, but what I'm saying is that the Patriots have figured out ways to stop a single person. I think this is a pretty multi-dimensional offense.
I totally agree. You're right. I mean, your Woods-Cooks point is like they're interchangeable. You can't peg one of them as, oh, this is the deep guy or this is the speed guy, whatever it is. I think it's going to be down to the inside zone. Like when we show their running ability, it's the number 3 running team in football, and you talked about it. I mean, Belichick's old school. I think he's going to look at it and go, all the success Goff, Woods, Cooks have, it's off of play action and what they do with Gurley. And I really think they're going to pack the middle with 3 big guys and play like that bear defense and cover the center and 2 guards, and then go, okay, we got big people here. Now we can devote some people to the bootlegs, the screens, and the play action pass. At least that's my
It could be a
2 cents.
boring Super Bowl. It could be heavy running from the Rams and that power running game
Yeah,
the
for the
Patriots like to
Patriots. I
use.
know.
And
This is old
yeah,
school
I
a
mean,
little.
at a time when we had the 54-51 game
Right.
back in November, it could be, 17-14 again.
I think it's a game in the 30s because look, when you were right near halftime of the AFC Championship game, didn't that look like a 20-13 game? And I mean, look, I'm not saying that Jared Goff is Mahomes, but I got to tell you something. I've been phenomenally impressed with Jared Goff. I mean, look, and McVay told me a story for this column today. You've got to read the story that basically Jared Goff talked Sean McVay into running probably the best pass he threw in this game. It was an out route to Brandon
To the
Cooks,
left sideline.
to the left sideline,
right.
And that out route was supposed to be, there was a bunch formation on the right, 3 receivers, and Cooks was alone on the left, and he was supposed to come into the middle. And McVay figured there's going to be so much traffic in there that one of these 4 guys is going to be open.
Right.
But he said, wait a second, I don't want to throw it into a layered coverage.
Yeah.
Meaning A.J. Klein was going to be between him and Marshawn Lattimore, and
Right.
he didn't want to throw it over A.J. Klein in front of Lattimore. He said, if we go to the outside, Klein's not going to follow him there to double him.
Yeah.
It'll just simply be single. Lattimore on Cooks, and I think I can win that.
Right.
And McVay said to me, he said, hey, that's not what I would have called, but he really wanted it, so I audibled to it on that play, and Goff changed the play at the line in that immense Thunderdome.
Right.
And he changed the play, and he made a perfect throw, and that really started them going on offense. All I'm saying is that Goff's been really impressive in the postseason after maybe a month ago
being
when he had
bad.
that crisis
Sure.
of the Bears and the Rams, and
Yep.
even against the Lions at Detroit, he didn't play well. But I think Goff, you got to hand it to Goff. He's really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you become a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
You have big performances in big moments, and this is his ultimate opportunity.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.